Both genders. So there's only two, eh?
Boom! Roasted!
Do you think anyone can become a woman?
Yep, but not anyone will.
Okay, so then at what point do they become a woman?
It will depend on where they are in their gender transition for the most part.
Does it require drugs to become a woman?
No.
Personally, I think it's a mindset. It's a spiritual energy. It's the vibe that you give off, you know, like
the vibe.
So if being a woman or a female is a mindset, can your age also be a mindset? Can you choose to be, can you just say I feel 14, which is a classifiable mental condition, by the way?
So I will say, yes, I know people that act way younger than they actually are, and they love acting way younger than they actually are. And I know people that, you know, like act way older than they are, and they, you know, and they pride themselves in that. And I think...
Okay, fair enough. So if a 35-year-old man claims he's 14, should we have any problem if he wants to have sex with another 14-year-old?
No.
If your identity is an energy or a feeling that can change, why would it be wrong for a 35-year-old to say he's 14, therefore...
Because he's not.
See how easy it was for her to answer that question on whether you can identify as 15 if you're a 35-year-old male. No, he can't, because he's not. Why can't they apply that same logic to a man becoming a woman? Because the answer's the same, right? A man who thinks he's a woman, can he become a woman?
No!
Why? Because he's not. Simple. But for some reason, they're only willing to apply that logic when it suits their own beliefs.
But then how is someone who has male parts a woman if he's not a woman?
That's two different things.
It's
Why?
different because you
It's
can't
a
go
mindset,
back
isn't
in
it?
time.
Your age isn't a mindset. I mean,
but then why is your sex or your gender a mindset and your age isn't?
Where do they come up with this stuff? It's funny how these are the people trying to educate us as well on what is acceptable and what's not. So being a woman, that's just a mindset. But if you want to feel younger and you want to believe that you're 10 years younger, no, you're not. No, these are the rules. You're not allowed to do that.
You don't like short people? But if men can't change their height and you judge based on height, then I'm going to judge you based on something you can change, which is your waist size. So we're going to measure your waist.
You're not going to measure my waist.
It's a double standard, and I'm trying to prove that.
I'm much older than you, and I'm a tiny bit smarter than you, or maybe a lot bit smarter than you.
I doubt it. You're a woman.
Wow.
Incroyable celle-là. C'est formidable. Avec le... Ils sont beaux. La piscine, en fait, c'est vraiment... Non mais... Parce que les maisons, tu vois... C'est
vendredi, qu'elle restait le week-end jusqu'à même lundi. Et ensuite, on va passer quelques jours ensemble.
Better or for worse is not much of a ringing endorsement, and we all know which one Trump falls under. And let's remember who else has been given this title in years past in the same category: Adolf Hitler, Joseph Stalin, Ayatollah Khomeini, and Vladimir Putin. In fact, Stalin won the distinction twice, just like Trump. Regardless of the company he keeps, we know how important these magazine covers are to Trump. Just look at this tour he gave the Washington Post in 2015 of his Trump Tower office, with a wall adorned with his various cover appearances.
There's a nice little comparison there from Joy Reid. I don't know the point of that. I really don't get what she was trying to prove, because she completely ignored this one here. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, they won Time's Person of the Year. Oh, and also, Obama won it twice. So why did you leave that out of your little list?
I am genderqueer, transmasc, and queer.
What's transmasc?
Transmasc is like people under the non-binary umbrella identifying like or presenting masc.
Masculine?
Yeah.
What about you?
I'm trans and my sexuality is unlabeled. I use he, him pronouns.
Yeah, and I use he, they pronouns.
Tell us what you guys identify as. We're asking everyone here today.
Gay. Gay, cis, what is it? Cisgender male. There we go.
I don't know. Gender neutral or gender fluid. I think that's what they said. I don't know. I'm confused.
Listen, I mean, if you're confused, how do you think we feel?
That's a movie. There was a beginning.
There was a beginning. That is hilarious.
There was a beginning. And it did. You made a movie.
Huh? I want you to imagine you could sit in a movie theater.
Oh my goodness, that's an amazing question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
Oh my goodness.
That's a very thoughtful question.
Yeah.
I mean, it's moving.
This is going well.
It is. Very, very well. I tell you, you're
killing it.
In what ways the person sitting next to you changed you for good?
Gosh,
Oh,
you
man.
are very good. You are very good.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I love you both. Would it be really annoying if I asked for a picture with you guys?
Oh, you're great. This was wonderful. Thank you.
Seriously, this is one of my...
Intention is not to diminish anyone else's version of Elphaba.
Yeah, of course not.
Ever. But the intention is to allow her to show up as me in my body.
Right.
And I loathe to make it about this, but it is what it is. As a black woman who is queer, who shows up in like this way,
absolutely,
there's something that I have that many other Elphabas don't have. They don't know what it is like to walk through the world like this. I do.
Yeah.
And so that innately, immediately makes me completely different. And the way he shot it, the way, like the space that he gave me to do it is fucking awesome.
I bet it's so sick.
Oh my god, you're playing the role that many other actresses have played on Broadway for years, including many diverse women, but because you're black and queer, you're somehow better than them because they can't relate.
You have been the light of the day. You are
truly-
such a gift.
You brought such light into the room. Thank you very much.
We appreciate
for coming
you.
into this room today.
Okay.
I just don't believe that is genuine. Like, you don't greet somebody like that, you don't say goodbye. Like, I've never spoke to no one like that in my life. If someone spoke to me like that, I'd think they've got a mental illness. Thank you so much for coming round and visiting me. Thank you. You brought light into the day. You really... They'd be like, mate, what's wrong with you? Like, I'm never coming around here again. And you know what's crazy? This type of behaviour is like fake kindness. Fake kindness is worse than hate. That's the truth. Anyway, let's watch some more of this interview. It's like a couple of narcissists pretending that they've got empathy. It's like if you got a robot and programmed it to act like a human, this is what it would come out like.
That's so beautiful. And Cynthia, can I quickly ask you the same question? How has Elphaba changed you for good?
I think that before I came to this, I knew that vulnerability was one of my strong suits, but I just didn't. I didn't get to show it as much. I didn't get to share it as much. Why am I feeling emotional about that?
Because it's true. And there's a lot.
I'm feeling very emotional about that as well, because it's been a struggle for me as well.
Is it me, or did she genuinely look annoyed when the interviewer interrupted her and started speaking about herself?
That's well, because it's been a struggle for me as well.
She's like, yeah, I don't care about you. Back to talking about me.
So playing Elphaba has given me the chance to like put that on the outside. I think people often assume that I'm like strong. I think people assume that that my feelings aren't at the surface, and I think Elphaba's allowed me to really show that I'm a person and I feel and I have feelings and I can share them.
And if you need to cry right now, you cry.
Yeah. And someone said to me once that the green was the thing that I would love the most about Elphaba, that I would want to stay green. But actually, being green, yes, I loved playing this character. But every time I took the makeup off, I like loved who I was even more. So I've come away like feeling really beautiful.
It's just you f***ing are.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
You know?
You write that we cannot assume that all cultures are equally valid. So which cultures, in your view, are less valid than others?
Oh, lots. Cultures that believe in child marriage, for instance, or that women don't have equal rights. I actually think it's extraordinary that people think that's an unusual or controversial thing to say. Of course, not all cultures are equally valid. I don't believe in cultural relativism. I believe in Western values, the principles which have made this country great, and I think that we need to make sure that we continue to abide by those principles to keep the society that we have now.
So which particular cultures then would you say are less valid? Because as you've said, your words, not mine, some people think that that is a controversial thing to say. So which cultures would you specifically say are less valid than others?
So it's not about labelling cultures. Culture includes a lot of things. I'm not talking about cuisine, I'm talking about customs. And I think that cultures where women are told that they should not work. I would knock on doors. I'm sure Penny and Jake had this. You'd knock on doors and you'd see somebody at the door who says, oh, I can't speak to you, I will get my husband. I don't think that's as equally valid as our culture. But the point I was making in the op-ed was about immigration. That immigration is something which we need to make sure we get right. We didn't before. And there were 3 things I said we needed to do. 1, numbers matter. I was quite surprised that Rob actually misrepresented what I've been saying. Numbers do matter. Culture matters even more. Who comes into the country is absolutely critical. And leadership. You need to start from the top. It's no good simply saying we're going to lower immigration and outsource it. It has to come very much from the Prime Minister himself or herself.
Are you saying, though, that if somebody in their culture who lives here in the UK, who might be a British citizen, who answered the door to you and said, I won't speak to you, I'd like you to speak to my husband instead, are you saying, you have said their culture is less valid, are you saying that people with those beliefs shouldn't be welcome in the UK?
I am saying that if we want to have a well-integrated society, we need to make sure that we have a shared culture and a shared identity. This is a multi-ethnic society. That's obvious. I'm a black woman sitting here talking to you. But there is a difference between being multi-ethnic and being multicultural. I grew up in a place that was multicultural, and yet everybody looked the same. Conflict arises when you emphasize difference. We need to emphasize the thing that we share. Being British, British values, the things that we talked about, freedom, equal rights, personal responsibility, not discriminating people because of their sexual orientation. There are some cultures that do that. I don't think that a culture that thinks gay people should be stoned is as valid as ours. This is not a controversial thing to say.
But aren't you, by making this point, which people will judge for themselves, they will maybe, I'm sure many people will be interested to hear what you say, aren't you, in fact, emphasizing difference by making this point? You are saying that if somebody lives in this country already, they answered the door to you here, and they said, I'd rather you spoke to my husband, you are judging their culture to be less valid than your own. You are emphasizing that difference.
What are you suggesting that politicians should do in that case then? That we should just accept everything, that everything is fine, and that we should not comment on what kind of social relations we should have? I don't think that's right. It is our job to make sure that the people who come into the country are people who love this country, who want it to succeed. And I want this country's culture to stay the same. I left another country and came here because I thought it was better. I don't want this place to turn into the place that I was running away from.
Personally, I don't. I think that a lot of voters really don't like fake people, and they're sick and tired of fake politicians. And so what I actually think is worse is saying something you don't believe. And so if during the entire time in campaign season, you're saying that you're down with trans people or like the LGBT community, and then you lose an election, and then the next day you say all that stuff was wrong. I actually think what people are more upset about is someone was doing something they didn't believe and just saying something. Like, if you actually weren't about that life, why did you campaign as though you were?
A little bit like how you went to the border wall and had a photo shoot where you stood there and pretended to be upset. Really good acting. Nobody's buying it. Like, what even is this? What are you upset about? What, people can't cross into the country illegally? What's so upsetting that you have to go to the border to cry? It's absolutely pathetic.
And so they go out and they need to feed their child and they don't have money. So you maybe have to, they're put in a position where they feel like they either need to shoplift some bread or go hungry that night.
People are calling me and telling me, don't say anything, stay in your lane, be quiet, sit down, you will lose your seat, they won't vote for you, fight, don't fight. What the fuck do I have to do in this fucking council?
What's your profanity?
In order to get respect as a black woman. And I'm gonna tell you, I'm not afraid of losing the votes. I'm not afraid of the seat. I'm not afraid of anybody here.
Yeah, so that was Tanya Fernandez, and she has actually now been arrested by the FBI for stealing taxpayers' money. What she done was she hired her family as her staff and had them secretly give her cash kickbacks in City Hall bathrooms.
Tanya Fernandez Anderson has just been taken into custody.
Here's video from moments ago of the FBI outside a Dorchester home. We told you earlier this week the city councilor is under federal investigation, but neither she nor the city would tell us why. Officials cited the U.S. Attorney's Office, saying the integrity of a grand jury investigation would be impaired by disclosing information.
Fernandez Anderson has represented District 7 since 2021 and has faced several scandals. Last year, the State Ethics Commission found she violated the conflict of interest law by hiring her sister and son and raising their salaries.
So here's a little bit more information. So it says, if you don't know, her husband is in prison for murder. She was an illegal immigrant that was allowed to be a citizen in Boston. She was already fined and reprimanded by her fellow Democrats for hiring her sister and son, which is illegal. She continued her nefarious ways until one of her Democrat colleagues ratted on her to the feds. She is going to prison. I mean, is she though? Because these Democrats always seem to be protected.
Sir. Yeah. Did you say that my daughter is rude?
Yeah, I did. She gave me the finger.
Well, I wouldn't have done that if he wasn't being a slow asshole.
Are you serious, Amelia? Well, listen, whether she gave you the finger or not, then maybe you should have gotten out of her way.
Yeah, I know. I'm old. I'm kind of slow.
So that means that you get to tell her she's rude?
Well, she's rude. She's rude.
But she's not rude. She's only 7.
Well, I thought she was being rude.
But were you in her way?
Probably.
So don't you think that maybe you don't own the store just because you're driving a cart? I think that you think all this is funny, and it's not funny, sir.
Well, I'm her elder, and she needs to show me a little respect.
Well, maybe you need to not think that you own the store because you're driving a cart.
Anyway, if you got this far in the video, I just want to say thanks for watching, and
You have been the light of the day. You are
truly-
such a gift.
You brought such light into the room. Thank you very much.
We appreciate
for coming into
you.
this room today.